product development documentation from Sienna is going to talk about how to create a wickedly effective business case. Warm welcome.
Is that better? Okay. Okay, good afternoon to the audience. This is day 2, almost past the halfway mark. And the virtual audience is probably in the evening, depending on your time zone. So today I'm going to talk about how to build an effective business case for your content strategy or for anything that you want to do in terms of doing a business case. Before doing that, I'm going to spend 2 minutes, 3 minutes how I got here, okay? So, you have a clicker somewhere?
Well, I'm coming. Nope, getting warmer, getting warmer.
Okay, okay. So, who am I? So basically, my name is Alexander Lam. I work for Sienna. It's a telecommunication company. We are not a Fortune 500 company, so it's like Fortune 1000. What that means is we're a small to medium-sized company, over 1,200 customers, over 5,700 employees, and I manage about 40 technical communicators. Okay, so that's the size of it. We don't have a large budget, and basically, I want to try to give you some context. This journey started 3 years ago, exactly 3 years ago. My management team says, okay, your doc team seems to be stale. So what are you going to do about it? So I look at the web and I saw, first thing I saw, hey, there's a conference coming up. It was month of September and October. So I decided to come to LavaCon, to a conference, and 2 of my colleagues joined me. And the idea was to get information, to understand what type of information so I could build a business case. That was the objective. So the way Jack set up at that time, there was 5 tracks, and there were dedicated tracks for management, for content, for tools, and all that. It was perfect because I sent different people to do different things. Let's get as much information as possible. So we divided. We tried to attend as many conference lectures as possible. And it was a setup out there too. There's about over 30 vendors. So some of them recognized me. So I was bugging them, every one of them. I met every one of them to understand what they offer as a service, what they can do. Then eventually I went back to them again, the one that I narrowed down to. Okay, and that's where I met one of the consultants, Tom Eldis, who is Content Era. So we engaged him. So before going to that far, the next step is that I'm not going to go into business case. I'll talk about it later on in my presentation. The next step is that the year after that, once we got it kicked off, we went to the next conference to see if we were on the right track based on the decision, the analysis that we've done. Okay, and we went there and we listened to these audience and said, it seems like we were heading the right direction. We were on the right track and doing so. And the following year, we went to Portland, and we share our best practices, how we implemented it. And so Adobe invited us to spend 4-hour workshop to show how we went from unstructured to structured, implement data, structured content. Okay, and now it's a full circle. I'm back here again 3 years later. So I will be presenting, show you what we did in terms of business case point of view. And tomorrow, my colleague is going to present from a team perspective how they implemented it, okay? Not from a tool perspective. He will touch a few bit of tool, but at least it's from a team interaction point. So that's the background. So I'm going to begin. So basically, the number one reason why your business case failed is because you didn't have a convincing business case. That's the number one reason. And because of that, your project or your initiative don't even get started. That's the number one reason. So to me, I think it's so important that you have to make your case properly. So I'm not here to teach you how to do it from A to Z. I only got 20 minutes. I could easily spend an hour or even spend 2 hours on it. But I would touch high-level points for you to consider, for you to think about, okay? Now, why do you need a business case? So generally, when you need a business case, is you're trying to solve a problem. There's a problem that is getting in your way for you to achieve the goal that you want to do, right? And your goal won't be realized unless you deal with that problem. Now, to do that, obviously, you need a business case to launch that initiative in order to deal with it. Okay, that's why I believe it's so important that you need an effective business case so that you can move forward. Having said that, is normally you need a business case is that you couldn't solve it within your own team. Okay, that means you need resources or money in order to do so, right? But if you can solve it within your own team, you don't need a business case. You can do it yourself, you work it out, that's fine. But when you go beyond your own team, then that's when you need a business case. And normally a business case is you're asking for either more resource internally or externally. Internally meaning it could be IT, it could be some other group that you need, it could be outside vendor helping you. That's what we mean by resource. And usually depending what type of resource you're looking for, now you're asking for $1 in order to support it. The question is, how do you get that $1 to do so? Okay? Now, usually in the business case, it's a vehicle for you to communicate, right? To communicate what are the benefits of that proposal. That's why you use a business case. You have to have black and white. That business case needs to be able to move so someone can read what they are, and that's what the need of a business case. Then, and it's a communication vehicle, right? That's what it is. And normally, traditionally, in a business case, you talk about ROI, return on investment. So that's a traditional business case. And usually those traditional business case, it touch on 4 points. Doesn't have to touch all those 4 points. It's based on the culture of your organization, right? Some culture of your organization value more on the financial piece. So that means your business case has to be concentrated on that. Some other business case may be more of, let's say you're a technology company and you got mega money, so financial is not an issue, but it's more of a technology is innovative, right? So depending what is your culture of it, and that's the tack that you go. And some other one is, you could be operational, like improvement, right? Improve your process. And maybe they value more of that. So that's the tack. It does not mean that you don't touch all those points, but the points that mean to your organization, that's the one that you need to focus on and hammer on that point. And most people don't look at is the 4th point I put in there is strategic. And that's the one today I'm going to spend time on. I'm not spending a lot of time on the other ones. The other ones, probably you know where they are. I could easily spend an hour or 2 if I'm going to give a full course on that, but I want to spend on strategic, okay? And the reason behind that is that, well, before I go to that, the reason behind it is because that's the culture of our company at that time, which 2 years ago, that I felt that's the one I have a better chance of getting approved and getting moved. So no matter what business case you are, obviously you need to be reviewed. You need to find the right sponsor to sponsoring you. And either you get accepted on the spot, or you get rejected, or you get revised or deferred. It depending on the mood or the situation or the economy of the situation, what your time frame is, okay? So those are the things that you have to be considered. Now, I'm going to consider on strategic. And the reason behind it, like I said, because our culture of our company is more at that stage of 3 years ago. That's where I find was something I could tackle on. So the next few slides that we're talking about is that's where I'm heading and the techniques. Okay, so Jack mentioned at the beginning of the session, how many people know about mission statements? I think about 80% they answered. Now, I go one step further. How many people here know what are the goals of your company? Every year they change, right? So how many people know their goals? They should be like 6 to 10. So if I look at it, it's like 20 to 30%, right? That people know their goals. Now, if you're going to build a business case, you better know what is your company goal, okay? Normally, there's at least 6 to 10 goals they are, and normally half a dozen of those are stable, and then normally there's another 3 or 4, it changes as time goes, right? In my case, that you have to find the right strategy that touch on the goals that you're going to hit. And 3 years ago, enhancing customer experience was the thing that our company valued, and that's what we were trying to achieve. So because of that, I was using more of a strategic point of view and a tackle from that perspective, okay? Before you even tackle perspective, you have to get data, right? But before getting data, you have to understand what is your ecosystem. When I talk about ecosystem, it does not mean just your organization. I also talk about the customers that's out there, right? That's what I mean by ecosystem. Ecosystem, talk about the environment that you're working on, how receptive they are, what are the challenges, what are the hurdles. So last year, Angela Ames, she presented that topic, right? And if you want to look more on that, it's on the web, you can look at it. She talked a lot about that. It makes sense from there. Now, and you also should look at your customers. Wendy today, she talked about the customers, right? And you have to understand how they're using it. If you're going to make the changes, how would they feel of those changes, right? Understand that. And obviously your stakeholder. You need to understand who are your stakeholders and what are their understanding and how do you work with that. Now from there, you need to gather data. You have to have data. And I'm giving you some pointers how to get data. And one of the data you could look for is getting feedback. The traditional feedback is survey. So from my perspective, you have analytical data. You should know who downloaded or viewed your content from where you put. From there, I consider the people who downloaded, who view, are my customers, internally and externally. So you can send a survey out asking open-ended questions, have them give you data so you can analyze what are their pain points, what are the things you want to look at, what do they like, what you do, what not, things like that. Ask those questions. Then you also could do interviews, which I did. You do interviews internally and externally. Plus, you could also do formal, informal. What I mean by, you may have some client coming into a training class, coming into testing in your labs. Take advantage of that. They're in your house. Arrange that. Have discussions with them. Get feedback, right? So all this process I'm getting is gathering, analyzing data. A whole bunch of data now. The next step is understand where the industry is going. What is the trend, right? So going to conferences like these one are fantastic. This gives you to understanding if you're going to choose a solution, is that something that's going to exist 5 years from now, right? So understand what is a trend, and does that make sense to you when you use that? Lastly, a lot of people ignore this one, but the executives don't. They will ask you the question, even if you do all the analysis, they will ask you, what is your competitor doing, right? So know your competition, right? Not just what the industry is doing, what is your competition doing? Understand where they are today. If you're lucky, understand what they're doing for tomorrow. You may not get that full data because they may not have to give you that data, but you may have enough connections and try and get that information informally, right? Have an understanding. Because even though you have all that, before they say yes to you, they're going to ask you, okay, what is your competition doing? Are you better than them today? Are you worse than them today? If we implement it, where are you going to be? No? So you have all the data ready. Once you have that data ready, then you're ready to trying to get corporate backing and budget. And what I mean by that is, whatever solution you're going to implement, what customer issues are you trying to address, right? Like this morning, Cruz says about information you couldn't find. That's one of the issues. So what are the issues you're trying to address? And if you are implementing those solutions, are you addressing them? If you are, that's what the business can say, these are my issues. If I'm doing this, this is what I'm addressing, right? Those are issues. And are you aligned with a corporate goal? Are you meeting their goal, but their bonus is tied to it? Are you doing it, right? If the answer is yes, at least you get a better chance. If the answer is no, chance of getting approved is small, okay? Then, what is the result of that data analysis, right? You're gonna have to show all the data you gather, all the intelligence you study and trying to get at. What is that to tell you, right? Present that, saying, this is the data we analyze, this is what we're hearing from our end user, this is what they're telling us, here's our proposal, how we're gonna go forward with, right? Then, well, how much does it cost you're gonna do this? So you're gonna have to show some alternative solutions. A, B, C, we're gonna do this is what you get. B, you get all this, C. So which one you're choosing and why you're choosing that one, okay? Then, how long is it gonna take, right? And which help do you need? What I mean by that is not just external consultant, like internally, for example, you may need your IT to be on board, right? So so in your business case, you have to list who are the major players that you're gonna need in order to proceed. You cannot do it in isolation. Then, the best one I find is if you could have a small scale demo that you create using this solution and provide it to try to get a business approval. If they could see it, what it is now, and a mock-up, what could be, your chance of getting approval just went up because it's not going to be just chartware. Now you say, hey, this is a reality. This is where it can be. Yeah, it's not perfect. There's some bugs. At least they can see something, right? And the last thing, I think, if you have one of the stakeholder on board with what you do, that is a major plus for you to get approval because he could be your champion helping you get, right? And not only that, you can use him or her as a sounding board, right, to correct your business case, okay? And I have 2 more slides. So the other thing is you have to put a team together. Once you get all these approved, you need to put a team together. And to me, the greatest impact is collaboration from every one of your team that you put in, right? Then you have to make sure the member that you have in your team are well represented, right? So you don't have someone that's in a silo, you don't include that person, then whatever you implement is not gonna work, right? Then you need to know, do you need external help? It is, you need that person to also be part of your team. And lastly, you need to name a leader because you don't have a leader, then you don't have a direction. So that leader needs to drive. So I believe that if you're putting a team together, you're gonna achieve more. But not only that, that team has to own it, right? It's not my project, it's not the leader's project, it's the whole group's project. You need to own it, you have to feel it that you're owning it to go forward. If you don't feel it, own it, it's not gonna work, okay? I will close with this slide, the case for change. As you know, due to digital revolution, the world is changing, the customer are changing or is changing, and it's changing the way we consume information. So if it's changing the way you consume information, then I hope this will help you putting the piece together how to build an effective business case.